I must do something. But, what should I do? Oh my God! I am not feeling well, but need to go there, and settle this up. If my hunch is correct, then this will be the last day of my life. I will write a message. If anything happens to me, Judy and Joanna will read it and know everything. It's time to go.
What's up, Officer Judy?
Please, have a seat, Sergeant Joanna. We've got some work to do. We have just received an emergency call from the municipality. A janitor has found a dead body of a man in the outskirts.
You are kidding me. Our town is very peaceful and calm. Is it a murder?
That's what we have to find out.
Did they identify him?
Yes. Sorry to say, it is Dr. Benjamin Miller.
I don't believe it. He is too young to die. Ben was my classmate at high school.
Yes, Joanna, I know.
He was brilliant but also adored by the teachers and colleagues.
He is a big loss. Olivia hasn't been told about his death yet.
What should we do now?
Let's go to the scene and investigate. If it were a crime, we could look for clues there.
Roger. I will ask for the car immediately.
What a calm night.
Yes, that's true. How wonderful is it to be blessed with peace here.
Tell me, officer.
When was the last time you met with Ben?
Not too long. We were out for dinner 2 weeks ago. He was telling me about his wife and a possible divorce plan.
A divorce? I am aware that he was not on good speaking terms with Olivia. But, never thought such a wonderful relation would end in divorce.
Their marriage was sailing through violent storms, Joanna. And Olivia has deserted him. She is living now with her mother.
This is strange to me. They looked a very happy couple. I've never imagined their marriage was so much at stake.
He was so depressed. Come on, Ben, take it easy. All sorts of such things happen in a family. You are one of the best people I've ever met. You cannot let this ruin your marriage.
Look, Judy. You don't understand. Olivia is too jealous, and she cannot see the harm this causes to me.
Honestly, all women are jealous, Ben. And Olivia is a wonderful person, everybody likes her.
Not a wonderful wife, though. I've made up my mind.
What are you up to?
I need to let go. There is no other option.
A divorce. You can't turn your back to those wonderful years of love. You are not the Ben I know.
She is too suspicious and thinks I am having an affair. I've given her all that I could, but it seems not enough.
It's not fair!
I asked her to give me a chance, to wipe out all the confusion that is nesting in her mind and eating her and me alive. But she won't listen.
So sorry to hear that. Olivia is as obstinate as ever.
She even threatened to kill me.
You wouldn't take her word seriously, would you? Humans lose control of their tongues when they are furious.
No, Judy. She is dead serious. I know if we don't sort it all through amicable divorce, she is going to take matters into her own hands.
So, what are you planning to do?
I have talked to the lawyer, and I'm filing for a divorce next week.
Here we arrived. The body should be there, officer.
What a horrible sight to see. Now, we wait for the autopsy results. I hope we get them tomorrow evening at max. Let us get down to business.
I will start collecting the evidence.
Have you searched the body?
Definitely. I packed up Ben's belongings and took some photos.
Let us hope we solve the puzzle soon.
We're receiving the autopsy results in 2 hours from now. Anything of interest from the crime scene?
I've gone through the inventory of what I found. I got Ben's phone and wallet. I also found a paper wrap for a turkey chicken sandwich.
Is that all?
No, I also found in the trash a piece of paper. A grocery list. It belongs to Ben. Do you think it is important?
Probably not, but suspicious things always end up in trash.
I see.
And we cannot afford the chance of things slipping in the cracks.
Can't agree enough, officer. I searched for footprints on the scene, but it was near a construction site, so there were lots of them.
Have you taken any photos?
Yes, I did. Who knows when we need them?
We will also need to interview the janitor, as well as the nearest to Ben at home and at work.
Honestly, officer, we cannot build a case on circumstantial evidence.
Don't worry about that, Joanna. Hope things will unfold quickly after the autopsy, so that we can see our way ahead.
Have a look at the groceries list. Something is weird here. Use your loaf? That doesn't make sense.
Unless he meant to pass a code to us. Are you thinking what I am thinking?
Cockney. It is a rhyme. If it reads a loaf of bread, then
use your head.
It's definitely a code.
The last line is strange. Why are the L and V capitalized?
Ben has never liked lavender tea, but certainly people do not buy 2 bags of tea.
It is a coded message. Sure thing.
But why did he write this code? Was he afraid of something?
Very likely. Anyways, we still have time to break the code. What's in Ben's mobile phone?
It is a Shiba Tech phone model. Impossible to access without a password.
For God's sake, Ben, why are you making things too difficult for us?
When should we start with the interviews?
I plan to interview the janitor tonight, and hopefully we catch a thread. Sergeant Joanna, please pay a visit to Olivia tomorrow. I learnt she is back home after her husband's tragedy.
Roger, officer.
I wonder if she now feels what it meant to hook her claws into poor Ben.
Do you think she is a suspect?
With the tiny evidence we have so far, even Martians are suspects, Joanna. Let's see what the coroner has to say.
Anything new, Rod?
Yes, we've got the results.
Lay them on me. How did he die? Any criminal suspicions?
Ben died between 9 and 10 p.m. last night. The findings reveal it was a heart attack.
Was there any sign of violence?
Negative. Apparently, he took his last meal at 7. It was a roasted chicken.
Do you mean it was
Natural death? Yes, Officer Judy. I already asked his doctor. He confirmed to me that Ben was suffering from a chronic heart disease.
I am surprised. He never talked to me about it.
His doctor says Ben did not want people to worry about him.
I hope he didn't die in pain.
For a person in his age, things would happen too fast to feel anything. Sorry for your loss, Sergeant. I know he was a close friend. I will put the report at your desk within an hour.
Thank you, Rod. I highly appreciate it.
So, what are we going to do now? Is it over?
I don't see any chance that the Inspector General will allow us to proceed forward with this mission. But he will let us work on the case for a couple of days.
That will give us a window to conduct the interviews.
And for decoding the groceries list.
Exactly.
Thank you, Dylan, for giving me the chance to talk to you.
My pleasure, officer.
I understand that you were the first one to detect the dead body last night.
Yes. In addition to my work here, I go to work as a janitor at the construction site and stay there until midnight.
How did you find out about Ben?
I don't know him, to start with. At around 5 p.m. that evening, he parked his car near the site, passed by, greeted me, then headed to the Shrubs Park.
Wasn't it surprising to see a man at that time, Dylan?
No. It is quite common for people to come to the park nearby. So, I did not suspect anything was wrong.
Did you notice anything strange on him?
I think he was a bit confused. Just after he left, I realized that he dropped his car keys. I kept them with me to give them back to him once he returned.
Aside from the keys, did you notice anything else?
He was dressed casually and was putting on some lavender perfume. But, you know something? It caught my attention that his hands were empty.
What are you trying to say?
People in this area come to the park for refreshment. They usually grab some food to enjoy their meal in the shrubs. He did not have any food with him. Anyways, that was the custom. He could be a different person.
How did you discover the body?
At midnight, I finished my work and noticed the car was still there. That is when I became concerned. It is not customary for people to stay in the park for more than 2 hours. So, I went to find him and give him the keys. I think you know the rest of the story, officer.
Quite. If you remember anything else, please call me. Thank you, Dylan, for your time. Lavender, the keys. What message you want us to know? In all of this mystery, I am certain of one thing. Ben, you were not alone.
Good morning. I am Matthew Anderson, the Inspector General. And I have an appointment with Mr. Alan Walker.
Most welcome, sir. The Chief Executive Officer is waiting for you. He is in his office on the 7th floor.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Anderson. Please, have a seat.
Thank you, Alan. I know you have a busy schedule, so I will try to be short.
I am at your disposal. It was a sad day. Everyone in the town loved Ben.
Yes, he was a good man.
It will take time for Olivia until the shock wears off a bit.
Our detectives are following up on the matter. It's part of the job, you know, especially when someone unexpectedly dies in inexplicable conditions. Although the coroner's report almost rules out any homicide possibility, it is necessary, we feel, to ensure that we are comfortable enough to close the case.
I see. So, what information are you looking for?
It was brought to our attention that both Ben and his wife exchanged some sort of life insurance policies. And, I hope I am not breaking any rules of confidentiality if I ask about this matter.
Right. The practice is not to disclose information to third parties, except with a court order, or with the informed consent of the client. Since we received an authorization from court, I don't see any problem in sharing with you some information, though it will be limited. Last year, both Ben and Olivia came in and subscribed to a mutual life insurance scheme. That is to say, if either of them dies a natural death, the spouse will be entitled to a compensation from our insurance company.
Can I ask about the amount?
It is a big amount, indeed. We're talking $2 million.
That's a fortune.
Correct. But remember, the policy says it is a natural death. And once Mrs. Miller starts the procedures, we will deposit the full amount in her bank account. After all, The coroner's report denies any accident or assault as the reason of death.
But, what if the coroner said, otherwise, that the death was a result of a foul play?
Then Olivia will walk out from this building with nothing.
Empty-handed. I see the point. Okay. That is all I needed to know. Thank you for your time.
Anytime, Mr. Anderson. Anytime.
The janitor says Ben was not carrying anything with him while going to the shrubs.
If what he is saying is true, where did the sandwich wrap come from?
That's the $64 question.
Are you saying he had some company?
Exactly, Joanna. Anything new about the evidence that we have collected so far?
Rod is working on the footprints and the sandwich wrap. I also asked him to inspect Ben's car key for fingerprints.
What are you planning to do now?
I am going to see Olivia.
And I am going to have a word with the inspector.
Did he call for you?
No, but apparently he was acting solo on the case. This is a small town, Joanna. It wasn't too hard for me to know that he visited the insurance company to ask questions about Ben there.
Insurance? What does it have to do with Ben?
Ben and Olivia had entered into a mutual life insurance policy.
He never told me about that. But for Inspector to go there and ask is weird.
That's why I am going to see him. It is our case and he cannot put his nose in it, just as simple as that.
He is the inspector at the end of the day, but I don't like it. I smell a rat there. What is his motive?
This is what I am going to know shortly.
There are no words to express my sorrow for your loss, Olivia.
Ben was a great man. I can't believe he is gone, forever. A couple of days ago, we had a hot argument. I left the house and went to my mother's, shutting my heart away, which was saying, Ben needed you, Olivia.
Don't be too hard on yourself, Olivia. This is life.
It was only when he died that I realized how wrong I was.
Did you see him that day?
No. I was with my mother at the hospital and stayed there until around 6 p.m., then went back home. It was only the next morning that I heard of the news.
Was there anybody at home with you, or were you alone?
I was all alone, Joanna. I had some sleeping pills and went to bed early. It was a hectic day and I needed some rest.
I don't want to pry into your family affairs, but do you feel comfortable telling me the reason for your hot arguments with Ben?
It is all about Samantha. Last year, Ben's institute appointed an assistant for him to help him with his medical research. The first moment I saw her, I could not but hold some grudge over the puff she was making about her smart mind and beautiful body. I could not help the feeling she was after my husband. Since then, our life was not the same. I suddenly started snapping at him, asking him about any relations that he had with Samantha.
And, how did he respond to your suspicions?
They are hardly suspicions, Joanna. It was all about a wife who does not want to allow any other woman to steal her husband.
Did you contemplate divorce?
He said he wanted to file for a divorce. That was after.
After what, Olivia?
After I threatened to kill him.
I guess you were not serious, right?
Of course I wasn't. I loved him and wanted him to be for me alone.
Did Ben ever tell you about his heart disease?
That added another shock. He never told me about it. He always wanted me to be happy, and would never share with me anything that worried him.
Can you tell me if anything serious was bothering him lately?
Last month, he was working on his computer. Suddenly, a message pops up and knocks him sideways. Since then, he became very anxious, though I could not know what was happening to him.
He didn't tell you anything?
No. Even if he wanted to talk to me, my jealousy would shut the door.
Do you have access to Ben's computer or mobile phone?
No. He did not share with me his access keys or passwords.
What a shame. What are you planning to do now?
I don't know. I need first to collect myself together, if you understand what I mean. Then, there will be many things to be done. Paperwork, court issues, the insurance and the like.
Okay. Olivia. If you ever remember anything that could help us close the case, please call me. As you know, Ben died of a heart attack, but we just needed to abide by the book, so to speak. To close the case and let you go.
I miss him so much.
Go ahead, Rod. You are on the loudspeaker. I am driving my way back to the station.
Hi, Joanna. I've got some urgent results and thought you might want to hear about them immediately.
What do you have?
You wouldn't believe it, but the keys you gave me did not work on Ben's car. That's not all, Joanna. The keys have no fingerprints other than those of the janitor.
Goodness gracious. Thank you, Rod. Things are turning up to be more complicated than I thought. Or, in other words, we have just got our first clue.
I expected you to come.
I assume this saves me the time for explaining why I am here.
Don't take it personally, officer. It all happened by coincidence, and I just wanted to check on something.
Whatever, Mr. Inspector. That does not give you the right to make an uninvited incursion into my territory.
I owe you an apology. Sorry for that, officer. It has been only a year since I came to this town and assumed my new position as the Inspector General. Back in Kendraville, I was a jack of all trade, and had to do everything myself, and old habits die hard. I wish I could have such perseverant officers like you and Joanna.
But, you probably know that too many cooks spoil the broth. You understand what I mean.
Quite. On that night, I did not feel well. The seasonal flu, fever and cough, you know, so I went to hospital on that very day. While waiting at the reception area, I saw Olivia. She looked like tied up in knots. She was in a hurry that she even did not notice my presence.
What was the time?
I don't quite remember, but since I was there at 5:30 p.m., and was waiting for the doctor to see me for a while, I can say it was at around 6.
So, you say she left the hospital at around 6?
Yes, I suppose so. At night, I was informed of the incident and rushed to the scene minutes after midnight. It is there that I started to question Mrs. Miller's troubled behavior.
Wasn't that too early to develop a theory about her implication?
Not if I had already known about the insurance stuff.
Can I know how you got that information?
You have truly earned your reputation as an investigator. This is a good question to ask. That was also by coincidence. The same salesman of the insurance company who convinced Ben of the insurance, ran into me one day, at the bus stop, and made the offer. I told you, young man, I am not interested in insurance stuff.
But, sir, it is unbeatable, and my offer is below the one that you would receive from the premises of our company. It is the best offer in town, and you deserve the best.
I cannot imagine paying this huge amount of money to make wealth for my survivors. Only insane people can subscribe to life insurance.
Insane? 2 days ago, I had Dr. Benjamin Miller and his wife subscribe to the scheme. And they were very appreciative of my offer. You cannot call them insane.
Leave me alone, young man. I really am not interested.
Anyways, Joanna's with Ms. Miller right now, and will be checking on her alibi.
Look, officer. I understand we do not yet have a case, but $2 million is enough to whet an appetite and turn a seemingly innocent woman to a murderer. So, be careful and try to get as much information as possible from her.
Again, I have to remind you, sir, that this is my job. I do not really need any person to tell me what to do.
Well said, officer. You just remind me of someone who was just like you back in Condarville. But, the difference is that you are more obstinate, which is not bad. Good luck to you, officer. Good luck.
Things are developing at a fast pace, Sergeant.
That's right. Olivia's testimony runs counter to what the inspector has told you.
There's also the janitor.
Do you think he is lying?
I don't know, but most probably, he is hiding something. And we need to know what really happened that night. I will call him for an interview.
What about Olivia? Are we going to set her on another interview?
Not now, Joanna. Let us give her a few days to settle down. She is in grief and we do not want to bring her any further emotional harm.
I see.
As a golden rule, a suspect is presumed innocent until otherwise proven guilty, even though Mrs. Miller is not even a suspect. At least not for the time being.
Roger, officer. I will talk to Rod about the footprints. He might give us something that helps. What's the news, Rod?
Well, a mine of news about the footprints.
Okay. Let's talk about the footprints. What are your findings?
My training is paying off. I received a very good training on tracking some years ago from Jordanian Rangers in Petra.
The ancient city?
Yes! They taught me how to figure out whether a footprint belongs to a man or a woman, and to identify even how old he or she is.
Rod. I am not asking about your adventures in the desert. What did you find about the evidence, specifically the footprints?
Apologies, Joanna. Okay, let's talk about the footprints. I could detect footprints belonging to Ben, the Inspector General, the janitor, and an unidentified female.
I see. Is there anything worth our attention?
It's a jackpot. The mysterious woman appears to have come to the place twice. In the second time, she was in a hurry.
What about the key?
The key that you found in Ben's pocket, Joanna, had on it Ben's fingerprints. But the one that was found by the janitor had his fingerprints only, and as I said earlier, it does not operate on Ben's car.
And the sandwich wrap? Any poison or anything else that raises the eyebrows?
I found traces of roasted chicken. Unfortunately, it does not show any brand. It would have been otherwise easier for us to trace it back to its original vendor.
Rod. Are you sure you are the best forensic analyst in the town, as you always keep bragging of?
Do you have any doubts?
Then, why don't you surprise me with something more relevant than whether the egg came from chicken or vice versa?
There were some traces of flafioxine, which is a medication given to patients with cardiac diseases. However, the autopsy did not reveal this medicine in Ben's system.
At last you said something that may appeal to Judy.
Believe me, officer. I didn't do anything.
I know, and that is exactly why I asked you to come.
I told you everything I know. Am I a suspect?
You can call yourself a person of interest for us.
And, what am I supposed to do now?
How about telling us something of value today?
I am afraid I don't understand, officer. Are you suspecting me?
For what reason should I throw doubt on your story? You are just hiding something, and I need to know it now.
Okay, I have no other option. At around 5 p.m., the man came in with his car. He looked worried as I said, but he did not drop any key. At around 11:30 p.m., I went to the shrubs after seeing the car parking for a long time. And That was the first time for me to see a dead body. It was a shocking experience for me. There was a key near him and I figured out it was for his car, so I picked it up and decided to go back.
So, you didn't call the police immediately?
No, officer. I admit my mind wasn't where it should have been.
Go on. I am listening.
In a split second, I decided to open the man's car and see if there was anything of value there that could help me with my debts. Believe me, it is not usual for me to do so. I am not a thief, but I was desperate.
Okay, so you open the car and do away with something?
No, never. Believe me. While approaching the car, I heard a police siren and felt afraid. So, I backed off and phoned the police.
Is that all?
That's all. Believe me.
I understand. You see, your new story makes sense, now.
Am I free to go?
Yes, you can go. We do not currently have any charges against you. But, if we discover any discrepancies in what you said, I will lock you in a small cell, and throw the key in the ocean.
No need to do that. I swear. I truthfully told you everything.
We're doing great so far. Dr. Miller.
Have all the mice survived?
For 1 week in a row. Isn't that amazing?
Do you think we are going to publish the research in the next journal's issue?
I believe so. We've been waiting in the wings for a year, and should be ready to share our findings with the academic community.
This will be a breakthrough in cardiological research.
People's lives will become better.
Hello, Olivia.
I need to see you, Joanna. Can we meet at Austin Tea Shop in an hour from now?
Sure. I will be there in 15 minutes.
See you then.
What are you up to? What secrets are you trying to hide?
Joanna. I've been to the insurance company. You may know that Ben and I had entered into a life insurance scheme. $2 million is a pretty big amount. For some people, it can be the source of eternal happiness. But it cannot bring back Ben to me.
You must let go, Olivia.
Ben loved his work so much. He wanted people to be healthy and happy. I'm giving up the entire amount to Dexler Institute, where he used to work.
So kind of you. I am proud of you, my friend. Whose idea was that to subscribe to the insurance?
It was Ben's idea. Last year, Ben and I were hanging out in the Giamara Mall. A young salesman approached us and convinced Ben of the insurance. You pay for 10 years, then get a pension or the entire compensation in case of spouse's death.
And, now you're giving up everything for Ben's Institute.
Yes, Joanna. That's it. There is something bothering me, and I must get it out of my chest.
And I am listening.
My mother was admitted to hospital as an emergency case. I stayed with her all night without any chance to sleep. On the next day, at around 1 p.m., I had a nap, and when I woke up, someone had tampered with my phone.
Tampered? In what sense?
There was a text in my messenger saying that Ben was going to see Samantha on that day, at 2:30 p.m., in the Shrubs Park. It was difficult to leave my mother, so I waited until she fell asleep. That was at around 3 p.m. Then, I hurried up to the site.
Did you find him?
No. I didn't. I sat on the bench for a while. At around 4:30, I had to leave, without a doubt that it had been a stupid prank by a thoughtless person. My mother could not be left alone. When I arrived to my car, the key was gone. I hurried back to the bench but saw nothing, and with a little time available, I had to go back to the car, get into it and use the spare key hidden underneath the chair.
I see. So the car's door wasn't locked. Had anybody tampered with the car?
It had never been opened. The driver's door in my car has some problems and only Ben and I know how to open or close it. Even if someone had opened the car, it would have been impossible for him to close it back.
But your key was found on the scene.
Then, this only means that I did not search well the second time.
Yes, most likely it happened like you said.
Upon returning to hospital, the nurses told me my mother was recovering, and that I could go home to rest. That was at around 6:15. At night, I learned through social media about a dead body in the shrubs, so I hurried there again and found all of you there. But I was afraid to show myself, although I was close to you. At that point, I sneaked out and returned to my mother's house. By the way, until that time, I had no idea that it was Ben. I just went there to find the key and keep my nose clean.
Well, I will share your story with Judy. That's all that I can say for now.
Do you think I am in trouble?
No, I don't think so. We may need your help as some more evidence evolves.
Thank you, Joanna, for listening to me. I will need to go now to finalize the insurance issue and transfer the money to the institute.
Oh. I would be grateful if you could bring us the shoes that you were putting on. It will make it easy for us to corroborate your story.
No problem. You will have them tomorrow morning.
Do you think the janitor was lying again?
Absolutely not. The interview was hard enough to give him the creep. He would think twice before talking to anybody from now on.
The case brings up a host of assumptions.
Hold your horses, Joanna. We will not make any assumption until we get the full picture first.
So what is our next step?
Interviews with more people, of course. I am Inspector Judy, and am looking for Samantha.
She's here. In front of you right now.
Ms. Samantha. The image we usually have about medical researchers is that of a person dressed in a white robe, wearing glasses and casting serious looks. But, the one who first came up with this stereotype, would have changed his mind upon seeing you.
Oh. Thank you for the compliment. This image has caused me some troubles with Mrs. Miller though.
In what sense, if I may ask?
I am a little bit introvert and shy. Mrs. Miller once came here. She saw Dr. Miller smiling at me, and apparently that made her feel jealous. What she did not know is that Dr. Miller was trying to be outgoing to help me get out of the shell. Can I ask why you wanted to see me?
We're conducting some investigations around the case of Dr. Benjamin Miller, and thought I could drop by your office to ask you some questions, if you don't mind.
Not at all, officer. I am all yours. Dr. Miller was a great person, and he had from me nothing but utmost respect.
It seems you are a practical person, so let us get down to business.
Sure.
Talking about stereotypes, investigators are viewed by the public as people holding magnifying glasses to hunt for clues. and asking direct and specific questions in interviews.
I see that in detective movies, indeed.
But this is not my style. I wish to ask you please to share with me any information that you think relevant. Please, try not to hide anything. Even minor information can give us a lead. There are many missing pieces in the puzzle, which baffles us and deters any attempt to find a trail.
Okay, officer. I was appointed as an assistant of Dr. Miller on his research on the use of flafixine as a medication to some sort of cardiac diseases.
Flafixine. That rings a bell.
It is a substance that we get through the concentration of some ingredients, coming mainly from the siamite leaves. Anyway, I was meant to replace my predecessor, Stella Brown. She died in a car accident.
Sorry to hear that. What happened to the research?
As far as I understood, it was progressing well, but after Stella's death, the manager put it on hold. She did not tell us why, though. Dr. Miller confided to me once that the research was a failure, and they had to run the experiments again to find out more feasible ways of using the substance.
How would you describe the impact of this failure on Dr. Miller? Was the manager, for example, upset with him over the results?
Failures in experiments are part of our work, and there is no reason for people to be dismayed. However, something strange happened.
What happened?
After the deadlock, Dr. Miller had a change of heart. He showed feelings of depression, anxiety and sadness altogether. He was no longer the cheerful person he was known to be, although he tried to be very friendly when I was appointed as his assistant.
How long did that depression last?
A few months, after which he started to show signs of recovery. His face regained its shining smile, and he even started to run the habit of putting on lavender perfume.
The bell rings again.
Something strange happened once, which I could not understand. I mentioned to him Stella one day. His eyes went astray and said,
"If you but did not listen to me."
Did he explain to you anything?
I didn't ask him about that. Obviously, it wouldn't have been wise for me to interfere in his personal affairs.
Well, Samantha. When a person suddenly dies, without an explicable reason, often the most critical information you have to work with is hidden in their actions and words from the day before they are gone. So, what were the last things you noticed on Dr. Miller that can be significantly related to his mysterious death?
You're quite right, officer. A day before his death, Dr. Miller was extraordinarily jovial. He was calm and very friendly. Aside from this, I frankly know nothing. I have always been busy with my work, and did not even have any relation with his family, partly for fears of upsetting his wife.
Yes, I understand.
But, I suggest you see Professor Charlotte Morgan. She may have more information relevant to your investigations.
I will certainly do. Do you think I can meet with her today?
She's attending a conference in France, but will come next week. If you like, I will ask her to schedule a meeting with you.
I will be grateful.
I've just remembered something. Last month, I saw Dr. Miller taking some pills. When I asked him if he was all right, he said he had been diagnosed with a cardiac disease some months ago.
Did he say that?
Yes, he laughed though and said he was happy to have had a life insurance before the disease struck him. But, he made me promise not to tell anybody.
Interesting. Thank you so much, Samantha. It has been nice talking to you.
Good luck, officer.
The word lavender has surfaced again. It is time to look at the grocery list with fresh eyes.
Here you are. Let us think about it carefully. Oh. My God.
What did you find?
If you take the first letter of each word, we get Socrates.
The philosopher.
We found a new piece of the puzzle, officer. Socrates died by poison. Not only this, but he also drank the poison by himself when he was sentenced to death.
Suicide. Things are becoming more interesting. Honestly, I thought for a while, we are going to unfold our hands.
We still have to decode the lavender word. Hope we can get answers from the interview with Professor Morgan.
Once we get the answers, let us sit and piece up the puzzle together.
This will give us the chance to know what pieces are still missing. I already have sketched the events, but as you said, we will not make assumptions now.
Fair enough.
We are running out of time for the publication of the preliminary findings.
I know, Stella. I know.
When do you think we can start testing the new medicine on humans?
The survival of the mice is encouraging, but we do not want to risk the lives of humans prematurely.
So, what are you planning to do?
I am testing it on myself first.
You are kidding me.
I have already taken the pill.
Be careful, Dr. Miller.
Don't worry about me. Everything is going to be fine. I am sure of it.
Something just doesn't add up. I'd better see Rod. I have a question, but really hope this time you give me a straightforward answer. Without much ado.
What's a test? I hope I will pass it.
Okay, I'll be clear. Last time, you provided me with your insight on the footprints, but you did not talk about all footprints in my photos.
That's true. The scene was near a construction site, so I had to exclude those that can most certainly be ruled out from the investigation.
Can you teach me a little bit about your exclusionary criteria?
Sure. The criterion includes the footprints of those coming to the scene from the first gate of the park. This is important to save time that could, otherwise, be wasted on identifying their owners.
What about the excluded footprints?
Those are mainly the footprints of people entering the scene from the second gate. The second gate is for emergency cases only, and there is no way for visitors to use under normal circumstances. It is the same that the ambulance and police used. I have also excluded old footprints, and those that do not seem to have trodden on the same place where the dead body was found.
I see.
Did I pass your test, Sergeant?
I guess you have scored an A. Just to be 100% sure, may I ask you to double check on the excluded prints? We are looking for a person who could have been with Ben at the time?
I don't think a second review will give any better results. Anyways, I will do that for you.
How was your trip to Dexler?
A good break, you can call it. We still need to see the manager. She is not in town this week.
I think it is time we reflect on the whole story, but after you tell me about the interview with Samantha.
Right. I will share with you what Samantha said to me, then let us go to the meeting room to sketch the picture.
In light of what we got from Samantha, in addition to prior evidence, we can draw a preliminary outline for the story. Ben was working on a research to produce a medicine for the treatment of heart diseases. He made a good progress on it, with the help of his assistant, Stella Brown. Few months later, his research failed, and that coincided with the death of Stella in a car accident. Then, Ben demonstrated a change in his psychological mood. He was depressed.
And we cannot for sure tell if it was sadness for failure or grief for the death of Stella.
Correct. At some point of time, he then subscribed to life insurance. Since life insurance companies require their new subscribers to be healthy, We can safely say he developed some cardiac illness after subscription.
I agree.
One day, he received a disturbing message through email or social messaging platform. Shortly before his death, his psychological state drastically changed. He showed happiness and ostensibly recovered from depression.
I think we have to be cautious about this assumption. Suiciders usually show signs of happiness after a period of depression. Psychologists say when a depressed person is finally happy, then there would be a chance for this to be an evidence that he has decided to take his own life.
Of course, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's 5 stages of dying is quite relevant here. But even if we assume that he committed suicide, we do not have the tool. His body does not show any signs of intoxication.
Let us follow on the chronological timeline. What do you think happened next?
Someone ran a prank on Olivia by writing a message on her phone. She went to the park but did not find anybody. In the time, she lost her key, searched for it in the scene but did not find it. At 5 p.m., Ben arrives. He gets on the scene and sits on the bench. Someone comes to him and offers him a sandwich, which he accepts. Then at around 11 p.m., he dies of a heart attack. At around midnight, the janitor goes there and reports the incident. We arrive at the scene and collect evidence. Olivia's key had already been picked up by the janitor.
Brilliant. Joanna. Now, we have a couple of questions, which need some more digging. Why was Ben depressed all this time?
What made him happy at the end?
What was the disturbing email that he received? Who was the one who played the prank? And what was his motive?
I think we also need to know whether the man whom Ben met was a friend or a passerby.
The last question is, how does Socrates fit in all of this picture?
The lavender code is still to be resolved, as well.
The footprints issue you pointed out earlier is really perplexing. But, let us worry about it later, at least after the interview with Dexler's manager.
Roger. Officer. Apparently, we have come up with more questions than answers.
Indeed, Joanna. Ben's feelings, his ups and downs, should be our focus. This will answer many of those questions. Professor Morgan, I understand the confidential nature of your research and business, and will record in my report the most relevant thoughts only.
I will be grateful. Thank you for your consideration. To begin with, Ben and Stella were testing in their research a new medicine that could bring comfort to patients suffering from some sorts of heart diseases. The final stages of laboratory research involves experiments on mice before we follow the medical protocols for testing on humans.
I understood the experiment failed, right?
No, officer. That was just at the beginning.
I am afraid I don't understand.
I'll explain it to you. The experimental mice were given the dose, and they survived for 10 days in a row. Then they all died.
So, what did you do next?
Well, months after the experiment, Ben confessed to me that he tried the pill on himself. I was furious about it.
I can understand why.
Well, after the mice died, we had to put the project on hold to make an assessment. The results were inconclusive. At that time, Stella, Ben's assistant, died in a tragic car accident, and we appointed Samantha as a replacement.
But, you said the research was successful?
Correct. But, I have only discovered that yesterday. You know, experiments need to be done by peer researchers. That is why it takes time for a medicine to find its way to the market.
Yesterday.
Peer researchers from other labs have confirmed to me that the experiment works on humans perfectly without side effects.
And how do you account for the death of the mice? Was it the dosage?
Nothing was wrong with the dosage, but since all mice died, and the experiment succeeded elsewhere, then usually such things happen because of other factors.
You said Dr. Miller experimented the medicine on himself. So, that raises the question of what happens if a healthy person uses Flexine.
The peer researchers' results show that nothing will happen to healthy people using the drug, though of course it is not recommended. Flexine is a concentraton of the ceamide leaves. It is a natural substance, And what it does is that it produces vitamins known as S90 and S95. 2 pills are needed to make the effect.
Well, this is important. Let me ask you this. Would a blood test, or any other laboratory test, show flexine in blood, for example?
Never. It is just a combination of vitamins, though with some concentration. It would not be isolated through a test lab as such. Just vitamins going to the heart, you know.
What do you know about Stella Brown? Do you have the contact details of her family?
We know little information about Stella. She did not talk much about her personal life. What we know about her is that she was born in Plotagon town. Her mother was divorced before she was born. After her mother's death, she moved to live with her father.
Anything about her father?
No. She did not talk a lot about him.
Brown is a common surname and I think it will be a bit difficult to trace him.
Brown is not the surname of her father.
What do you mean?
Her name is Stella Maria Brown. She took her mother's name.
It is not uncommon for a person to take their mother names, but I guess you do not have any information about Stella's case.
Correct.
I learned that Dr. Miller's psychological mood changed over the past year. Do you have any information about that?
After her death, Ben grew a feeling of sadness, or so to speak, depression. He became more focused on his work, and tended to break up from social life.
Have you ever noticed a remarkable change in him?
Well, I remember something strange about him. Dr. Miller was a highly organized person. He would always respect break times. But, when I dropped by his office to invite him for snack at lunch. It's lunchtime, Ben. How about having a snack together in the cafeteria today?
Thank you for the offer, Professor, but I would like to stay in office today. I am playing this game and I'm stuck at some levels. There.
What game, Ben?
Well, this is Lavender. It is an old-fashioned child days game that runs through an emulator. The player is in a treasure island and has to fight against pirates until he gets the treasure.
Ben was always a serious, hard-working man. He wasn't that sort of a person to waste his time on computer games. But, I thought it was part of his depressive mode, so I left him alone.
Professor Morgan, I think I got all I needed to know for the case. Thank you very much for your time. Hi Joanna, I've got a lead from Dexler.
Great, I am all ears.
Ben used to play a computer game at break time. Do you fancy playing it?
Computer games are not my passion. They are a waste of time.
But, the game he used to play is called Lavender.
You know, officer, I've always loved to play computer games.
Let's do it. I am on the way.
After a week of taking the pills, I am now definitely sure we are on the right track.
That's awesome. Do you think I can try it on myself?
100%. Try it, Stella. It is certainly safe for healthy people.
I will take a double dosage today.
Hello, Kim. What's up?
Bad news, Dr. Miller. I am sorry to tell you, all the mice under the flexine medication have just died. All of them.
Stella.
LV2. This should refer to level 2.
I am already past level 1. Nothing of interest, so far.
Then, be careful at level 2. Try not to miss any clue.
I'll do my best. Finally finished. What's that?
Did you find anything?
You can call it a jackpot. It seems at the end of each level, the game gives you a password. You can use it to skip level 1, in case you want to play the game at another time.
So, that's it?
Are you thinking what I am thinking, officer?
I'm sure of it, Joanna. Let us use it on Ben's phone.
Roger. I think we're very close to getting the last piece of the puzzle. The password is Omega 5, 3, Alpha, #key. It worked.
Let us see if he sent, or received, any messages before his death.
The social message app. Here we go.
Have you got any messages?
There is only one message. It seems Ben had worked hard on his privacy. It is from someone with the name, Jessica, and it reads, "Goodness gracious. Officer, you really need to read it."
Why shouldn't I be surprised?
So, we need now to talk to the inspector, right?
Yes, let us go to his office now.
But, I think he left early. Every week, he goes somewhere outside the town. He is discreet about where he goes.
I am sure I can figure out where he is now.
Well, with this clue revealed, we don't need to consult with Einstein for an answer. I'll get the car ready.
The sunset. How beautiful. Stella, for the star. How did you know I am here?
Mr. Inspector?
The code is broken. We've solved the puzzle of Ben's death.
The sunset this evening is so beautiful, isn't it?
Yes, it is spectacular.
My daughter always loved the sunset. She used to say, "The sun is going away, leaving us with its best wishes for a new morning tomorrow."
And, was your daughter's name Stella?
Or, probably, her real name is Lavender.
I told you, officer. I have always wished to be working with smart people like you and Joanna.
And, we have always wished to work with an inspector, whose hands are clean. Someone who would serve justice, rather than take the law into his own hand.
What do you mean?
Well, I think it is time to put the record straight, and start up with some sort of a chronological order.
I am listening.
Last year, you came to our town, just after Stella died. You had already devised a way to take revenge. Without Stella, you are alone in the world, especially because your wife had died long time ago. We now know that you and your wife got divorced when Stella was in her cradle. As a settlement at court, you both agreed that Stella would take her mother's surname. But you always wanted your daughter to have the name Lavender.
She would always love me to take her to the garden. Lavender was her most favorite. When her mother died, Lavender was just 4 years old. She had a big heart for humanity and wanted to be a doctor to save lives. I don't remember the subject of my repeated bickering with her mother, but I hope it was something worth the divorce.
Stella told you about the experiment she was doing with Ben. She also told you about her intention to test the pills on herself. It was too late to dissuade her. You remember, you said she was stubborn.
After you learned about the car accident, you were confident it was the pills. At which point, you decided to revenge. And who is the one to blame?
Look, officer. What you say is nothing but unfounded speculation. I wouldn't harm anybody, not to mention killing a friend, like Ben.
I haven't said that. You set your mind to a plan, and you waited for a chance. The right time came when you learned that Olivia was at hospital with her mother. The flex sign was ready to be put in Ben's food. You just needed a pawn to frame.
I was at the hospital because of the fever, but that does not mean I am a murderer.
Mr. Inspector, we are not pointing to you as a potential killer. So, please, let Officer Judy finish her talk first.
Okay. I will keep silent until the end.
The first thing you did was to call Ben. He is your friend, you know, and wouldn't suspect your invitation to have some snack in the park. But there was the fear that the jealous wife could tail him there and spoil your entire scheme. So, you thought of having her go to the shrubs at an earlier time. She wouldn't find anybody, give up and go back home, not to return, of course. You used the right time at hospital. Don't tell me you went to hospital at 6. You were there much earlier. It wasn't difficult to write a message on her mobile phone. And, when she arrived to the shrubs, you were watching her from a distance in your car, but as she was in a hurry, she forgot the keys in the car's lock. You immediately snatched the keys. When she returned, she realized that her keys were gone. Not finding anything on the scene, she went back home, using the spare key. As planned, Ben came on time. You went there with turkey sandwiches stuffed with a high dosage of Flexine. I could imagine you ensured he would eat it all, then left him to die and moved away. But not before dropping Olivia's key near his body.
You have a vivid imagination, officer. You might have forgotten that Mrs. Miller's keys had no other fingerprints than the janitor's.
No, I do remember that. For the time being, I am going to assume that you had a change of heart and simply rubbed the key with your handkerchief, erasing all traces that could otherwise point to your direction.
You're really making me angry. I cannot believe you are basing all your arguments on such shallow circumstantial evidence. I have nothing to do with Ben's death. He deserves the worst for pushing my daughter to her demise, but I haven't killed him.
Talking about evidence, Inspector, how do you account for your footprints on the scene next to Ben's body?
I've been really too patient with you both. Didn't you see me on the scene that night? Sure thing, the scene would have my footprints.
We arrived at the scene together, all of us. But we used the emergency gate. Your footprints were found on the trail leading to the visitor's gate. Don't you think it is too obvious?
Anyways, we don't have a proof to incriminate you. Even if you confess to us, you know and I know you can easily make a retraction at trial, and with the lack of hard evidence, you will walk out from the court clean.
You've made a good point.
It is better to get it out of your chest today, than continue coming here to the place where your daughter died for the rest of your life.
Okay. Officer. I will tell you everything.
No necessary to tell us everything. We've already known a lot.
Then, what do you want me to say?
Tell us what happened in the shrubs. That is the final piece of the puzzle we are looking for.
Everything you said is true. I met him, upon my request, in the shrubs. He never suspected anything and I had the poisonous sandwich. Lavender had already told me that Flexin cannot be detected in blood analysis, hence came the idea to me. After 2 hours or so, I knew the poison would go to his heart and make him meet the same fate he caused to my baby. I took my revenge, as I saw his face getting pale after I revealed my true identity. It serves him right. Tit for tat, and justice is served. The idiot never suspected who I was and never thought I could kill him that easy.
You are dead wrong, Inspector. Ben had known everything about you. And he knew you were planning to kill him that night.
No, he couldn't have been as smart.
He left us a coded message to guide me and Joanna in solving this puzzle.
A coded message?
Here you are, if interested to see.
I cannot see a code. It is nothing but a shopping list.
The last line indicates a game he used to play. It points us to a password that appears in the game after finishing level 1.
That was the password of his phone. And we found a message in his social messenger app.
So smart of him to know. But, he didn't show any threat of doubt as he devoured the poisonous sandwich.
Then, probably you should have made a closer look at the shopping list.
The shopping list?
If you take the first letters, they make a word.
Socrates.
The philosopher who died by hemlock?
Not only this, Inspector.
What else then?
Socrates took the poison voluntarily.
What are you saying?
Ben accepted your death sentence. He wanted to atone for the disaster he perceived he had done to you.
He could no longer live with those feelings of guilt and shame.
There is something that you don't know. Very recently, a peer experiment proved Flexine was safe for healthy people. The rats had died of other factors.
It can't be true.
Ben died of a natural heart attack. He certainly did not die of the medicine.
Just as Lavender died by an ordinary car accident. She did not die of the medicine either.
The case is closed. There is yet something that I cannot understand. Did you rob the keys to retract on your initial plans to implicate Olivia?
Or probably, that was out of a habit. Something that those with dark secrets in their lives are accustomed to.
Does it have to do with how your wife died, for example? Or it may relate to a nasty thing you are trying to hide? That would be a speculation only, but what I am sure of is that you have to reconsider staying in a position of a person who is supposed to be serving people. Not a person who acts like a god who can tamper with other people's destination.
I will follow your advice in earnest, officer. In the meantime, I hope you leave me alone, reflecting on this scenery.
Why should all this happen? To those brilliant minds and pure souls.
The world was too small for them, Joanna. I am sure they are in a better place.
I wonder what were her last words, before the accident.
We don't know. Nobody knows.
We live in a time of extraordinary change. Change that's reshaping the way we live, the way we work, our planet, our place in the world. It's change that promises amazing medical breakthroughs, that save lives, and change the course of our futures. I've finally made it. I am now a doctor.
Lavender. Those who suffer need you to be something more than a doctor. They need you to be a healer, and to become a healer, you must do something even more difficult than putting your white coat on. You must take your white coat off. You must recover, embrace, and treasure the memory of your shared, frail humanity, of the dignity in each and every soul.